Gravity did not fail. Heat did. MARA VANCE felt it the moment she stepped into Nursery Wing D. The air was too sharp. Too cold. Her breath fogged the glass. Inside the quarantine nursery, 3 tiger cubs huddled under the warm lamp shelf that was no longer warm. Their striped fur puffed out. The smallest one trembled so hard its teeth clicked. A soft alarm blinked above the door. Thermal drop. Nursery D. Temperature, 11 degrees Celsius and falling. Time to critical, 38 minutes and 12 seconds. Mara's jaw tightened. Engineering. Why is a nursery at 11 Celsius? A tired voice answered over comms. Thermal grid is rerouting. Surge in the outer ring. Non-essential zones are throttled. These are babies, MARA said. They are not non-essential. Static. Then, we're working it. Best estimate is 90 minutes. MARA stared at the timer. 38 minutes. The biggest cub lifted its head. Amber eyes. A tiny growl that was not aggression. It was fear trying to sound tough. MARA crouched, palms open. Hey! I'm here. The cubs watched her face like she might be the last heater in the universe. A medic, Harlan, floated in with a blanket packet. We can wrap them. MARA shook her head. Blankets slow loss. They do not replace heat. Harlan swallowed. We can sedate. Reduce metabolic demand. MARA's eyes flashed. Sedation in hypothermia risks collapse. Harlan looked away. Then what? Before MARA could answer, the smallest cub stood, wobbled, and walked to the corner where the floor panel met the wall. It sniffed once, pressed its nose to the seam, and pawed fast. Tap, tap, tap tap. The other cubs lifted their heads at the rhythm. Then all 3 moved to the corner and began to work at the vent grill. Tiny claws scraped metal. They pulled like the grill had insulted them. MARA's heartbeat slowed into focus. What are you smelling? The biggest cub glanced back at MARA, then nudged the vent with its nose. Something faint drifted out. Warmth. Barely a breath of it. But enough for the cubs to believe there was more somewhere. Harlan frowned. That vent line is dead. MARA rose. Not dead. Starved. She tried the access latch. Locked. The cubs chittered, more desperate now. The smallest sneezed, then pawed again. Tap tap. Pause. Tap. MARA's wrist pad pinged. Thermal drop. Nursery D. Temperature, 10 degrees Celsius. Time to critical, 34 minutes and 50 seconds. MARA made a decision with her whole body. Harlan, keep them together. Keep them calm. No sedation. Harlan nodded, already pulling the cubs into a tighter bundle with soft straps. MARA opened comms. Security, I need access to salvage deck 7. Now. Security replied. Wary. Why is medical requesting salvage? Because engineering is late, MARA said. And the cubs are cold. A beat. Then, you have 10 minutes. Take an escort. MARA grabbed a tool pouch and a thermal strip. She glanced at the cubs one last time. The biggest cub met her gaze. Shaking, but steady. Like it had given her a mission. MARA whispered, I'll bring the sun back. Then she ran. She had seen this coming, even before the alarm. For 2 nights the cubs had been restless. They kept leaving their nest to nose along the wall seams. They dragged little treasures into one corner, a cracked heat strip, a foil wrapper, a broken drone lens cap. Staff called it mischief. MARA called it data. She had logged it anyway. Cub behavior note. Collects thermal-related debris. Cub behavior note. Seeks vents during chill cycles. Cub behavior note. Guards pile when staff approaches. No one answered the report. The station rarely answers until something breaks. Now something was breaking, and the cubs were not playing. They were asking for a tool. Mara keyed comms again while she moved. Engineering, if you have a spare portable heater rated for nursery use, send it to Wing D. Engineering sounded exhausted. All portables are deployed. Hydroponics. ICU. Bridge. Then mark this as ICU, Mara said. Because it is. A pause. Copy. The timer on her pad kept sliding down in ugly jumps. Temp. 9 degrees Celsius. Time to critical. 28 minutes and 41 seconds. Mara ran faster. Salvage deck 7 smelled like burned polymer and old coolant. Broken parts sat in cargo nets. Panels, coils, cracked lenses, dead drones. A graveyard of function. Mara moved fast, but clean. She needed 3 things. A safe heat source. A regulator. A way to spread warmth without scorching fur. Her escort, Officer Reyes, watched her with disbelief. You're building a heater out of junk. Mara didn't look up. I'm building time. She opened a crate labeled thermal control, obsolete. Heater cores floated inside. Some warped. Some intact. She found one with clean contacts and a sealed casing. No rattle. Good. Next. Power. A standard battery was too risky. She needed low output and stable. She found emergency beacon cells. Designed to run for hours. Then, diffusion. Heat in a point would burn. She needed a soft halo. She grabbed reflective foil sheets. Then hunted for a curved lens. A cracked drone camera lens drifted past. Mara snagged it. Reyes frowned. A lens. Mara held it up. A glow. Not a burn. She found a transparent polycarbonate dome from a sensor housing. Smooth edges. Mara laid parts on a bench and assembled with quick, precise hands. Heater core in the center. Foil around it in layers, like petals. Lens fragment mounted to soften the light into amber. Microcells in parallel with a limiter board. Her pad beeped. Warning. Unapproved device assembly. Mara muted it. Reyes leaned in. If this fails. Then I fail, Mara said. Not the cubs. She clipped the last lead and hesitated. Flames, or trembling teeth. She flipped the switch. The core glowed. Amber. Gentle. Like a candle seen through honey. Reyes went still. It's pretty. Mara exhaled. Tiny Sunday. She checked the dome surface. 37 Celsius. Warm. Safe. Then the station trembled. Lights flickered. Mara's comms chirped. Thermal grid drop. Outer ring surge escalating. Quarantine wing power reduced further. Mara's stomach dropped. How much reduced? Engineering answered. Strained. Nursery D is down to auxiliary only. Mara looked at her device. Then this is not optional. She secured the tiny sun in a padded carrier and sprinted back. On the way back, the station tried to steal speed from her. Hall lights dimmed to emergency red. One bulkhead half closed, then reopened, like the system could not choose a priority. Mara ducked under it and kept the carrier tight to her chest. The tiny sun's glow leaked through the padding in a thin amber line. A voice on the public channel said, "Calm and wrong. Thermal situation under control. Please remain in assigned areas." Mara muttered, "Liar," and kept moving. Her escort tried to keep up. "Command says you must wait for a safety review." "Tell Command to meet me at the nursery," Mara said. "They can review the cub's body temperature." Reyes didn't argue after that. Nursery Wing D was colder when Mara returned. Frost haloed the glass. Inside, the tiger cubs were silent. Silent like their bodies were conserving everything. Harlan knelt beside them, face tight. Temperature is 8 Celsius. We're minutes from critical. Mara stepped in and felt the bite in her lungs. She opened the carrier. Warm amber light spilled out, steady. The biggest cub's head lifted first. Nostrils flared. Eyes widened. The smallest cub whimpered. All three crawled forward. Slow, then faster. They circled the device, sniffing, paws hovering like they feared it might vanish. The glow reflected in their eyes. Mara lowered her voice. Easy. It's safe. The biggest cub pressed its nose to the dome and sighed. Then it lay down and curled around the tiny sun like it was guarding it. The other cubs followed, forming a tight striped circle. They stopped shaking. Harlan stared. They're stabilizing. Mara checked vitals. Heart rates dropping. Breathing smoothing. But the station was not done. An alert flashed on Mara's pad. Auxiliary power limit. Quarantine wing. Overload risk. 6 minutes. Reyes's voice came through. Command wants all unapproved devices shut down. Mara's eyes narrowed. This device is low draw. It's not the device, Harlan said, reading his tablet. The wing is failing. Auto heaters are spiking. If the wing overloaded, emergency systems would cut power. Mara stood. Then we stopped the spike. She popped the wall panel. Manual wiring. Physical logic. A cracked relay was chattering, reconnecting again and again. Each attempt drew a surge. Mara pulled a fuse. Lights dimmed, but stayed on. Fans steadied. Her pad updated. Overload risk. Cleared. Harlan released a breath. You just cut the auto heaters. Mara nodded. Because the cubs have a better one. The tiny sun hummed softly, steady as a heartbeat. Reyes watched, unsettled. They look like they're worshipping it. Mara's mouth twitched. They are surviving. She extended a finger near the biggest cub's ear. Slow. Permission. The cub nudged her hand. Mara's throat tightened. You were telling me what you needed. Harlan blinked. They brought parts. Mara nodded. They insisted there was warmth somewhere. They didn't panic. They planned. The smallest cub touched Mara's sleeve with soft pads, then held contact. The station's voice spoke overhead, calmer. Thermal systems offline in Nursery Wing D, manual stabilization in progress. Mara glanced at the timer. Time to critical had vanished. Stable. Heat source present. Reyes exhaled. You saved them. Mara shook her head. They found the sun first. I just wired it. Engineering replaced the relay. Heat returned to the wing, but Mara kept the tiny sun in the nursery. At shift change, a few crew members gathered outside the glass, whispering. It's a heater, someone said. No, another replied. It's a little star. The tiger cubs slept around it, tails tucked, paws overlapping. Their breathing was deep and even. Mara sat beside the nest, exhausted, but steady. Commander Vale entered, expression stiff. I reviewed your actions. Mara didn't stand. Then you know the numbers. Vale glanced at the cubs. You violated procurement policy. Mara met her eyes. I violated paperwork. Not safety. Vale's mouth tightened, then loosened. Engineering confirms the device was stable. It prevented hypothermia. That is undeniable. Mara waited. Vale continued, reluctant. New directive. Quarantine nurseries receive priority thermal allocation. Also, you will document how you built that device. Mara's eyebrow lifted. So other nurseries can have sons. Vale almost smiled. So we never need one again. The biggest cub stirred and blinked at TVS, then yawned and slept, unafraid. Commander Vale cleared her throat. What do you call it? Mara looked at the amber glow. Tiny Sunday. Vale nodded once. Appropriate. She paused at the door. And the cubs? Mara's voice turned gentle. They're not cargo. They're crew. Vale didn't argue. When she left, Mara leaned closer and whispered to the sleeping cubs, "You did good." The smallest cub slid its paw onto the dome as if touching sunlight. Outside, the station still spun through cold space. A soft purr started, almost too quiet to hear. Then the second cub joined. Then the third. The sound filled the nursery like warmth you could listen to. Mara let herself smile. "That's it," she whispered. "Hold on to your son." Inside, 3 tiger cubs slept in a circle around a warm glow that should not have existed. And yet it did. Because a human refused to accept later. Because babies refused to accept cold. Because survival sometimes looks like building a tiny sun out of spare parts. Subscribe for more HFY Sci-Fi on Survival Arena HFY. Like if the tiny sun moment hit you. Comment your favorite scene, the first glow, the cub circle, or Mara pulling the fuse.